Hey, just want to give a little spoiler warning. I won't be talking about the story much at all, so no twists are going to be revealed here, but I will be showing and talking about some of the late game transformations, so if that is sensitive to you, I would recommend clicking off. Donkey Kong had a rough transition to existing. He went from being an arcade juggernaut to being sidelined in a cage to Stanley. Huge platforming revival to sidelined. Great game, but sidelined. To this thing. DK64. Whole era of nothing but spin-offs. Jungle Beat Rocks, by the way, still kind of a spin-off. Huge platforming revival, and then one of the best games of all time that very few people played, and then nothing. 11 years of nothing. Donkey Kong has had some all-time greats, but the franchise is so inconsistent that no one's really around long enough to embrace how consistently good it is. This is a series with DKC2, Tropical Freeze, Jungle Beat, DK94, and yet I've seen DK pushed as a B-tier, as a C-tier franchise. This is nonsensical. Those games are all-time greats, but the people simply do not understand, and I can't blame the people. Bananza is a reminder that DK is S-tier. This is another in the line of the all-time greats, and more than just Super Mario Odyssey with Donkey Kong in. Of course, this team did Jungle Beat before, they know how to handle their monkey. Donkey Kong Bananza has more fun per minute than any game I've played in, honestly, years. Your brain's nucleus accumbens is going to explode and melt, and you might need to see a doctor afterwards. In the span of a minute, you're going to make crucial story progress. Dig a big hole, find a banana, get a ton of gold, probably find a treasure map or something. No exaggeration, you can do all of that in a single minute. It's wild a game with these mechanics, at this scope, is able to be real. Bananza's levels are way bigger than Odyssey's, even just looking at the surface of them. But then you start digging. Sometimes you're just going to go underground and find gold and maps towards bananas and fossils, but other times you're going to find even more level down there. It's an incredibly vertical game, but not in the annoying, I fell and I've got to repeat all the platforming again. More in a punch, 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 more bananas for me kind of way, you know? A game where you shape the level however you want, and a game with incredibly fast, polished platforming shouldn't really go hand in hand. That's a testing nightmare. You should be clipping through everything and running into glitches all the time, and yet DK is polished as hell. I did everything in this game, and it was smoother than most games with narrow corridors as their level design. It's so easy to take it all for granted, but look at what they've actually made here. It's so intricate, but playing it feels effortless. EPD Tokyo have made something incredibly distinct for Donkey Kong. He doesn't feel like Mario. His platforming, on the face of it, is more limited. He doesn't have the triple jump. His side jump is more of an attack than something you can actually use to help you platform. But the roll from country is back, and so you can roll off an edge, combo into a jump, roll again. That's pretty versatile, but the terrain is also yours for platforming. You can chunk jump. I love the chunk jump. It's a bit like Klonoa, but instead of waiting for an enemy to come along, everything you're standing on is your enemy. They're always there. You can chain skating on terrain into a chunk jump, and you've got even more platforming potential, and then roll out of it and punch out of it, because punching and clapping keeps you in the air a bit longer too. DK's smaller moveset here is actually incredibly advanced, and the amount of skips you can pull off are endless. I'm pretty sure I got most of the bananas the wrong way. It doesn't impose any limitations on you either. DK can climb almost anything without a stamina meter, which should be game-breaking, but the ease of movement is what it's all about here. You won't usually think, how do I get on top of that mountain, because you just do it. You have the tools to do anything, but how do you choose to use them? Even though EPD have made a game for a different character, and they've made it bigger and more vertical, there are still a lot of traces of Odyssey in here. It's a pseudo-sequel, at least in game design. You've got those challenge rooms just like Odyssey, with the linear banana at the end, but you know how these guys work. They always sneak an extra banana around the corner somewhere. You can't trust these guys, we know their tricks. I know there's a banana behind this wall, you can't fool me, EPD. Basically, you can feel EPD Tokyo here. Bananas are pretty much the equivalent of moons, so these things are scattered everywhere. Sometimes they're just lying around, other times there's a challenge attached to them. And just like Odyssey, you'll see a few repeat with each world. There's a few bananas tied to quizzes, a few tied to smashing up bricks within a time limit, a few tied to feeding a big tree lots of gold. This is just Lumas from Mario Galaxy again. But I think bananas work better than Odyssey's moons. Digging a huge hole in the level and finding a banana under the earth is way more rewarding than finding a green glowing patch and ground pounding on it. And the bananas themselves give you a constant tangible reward, as getting 5 bananas gives you a skill point. And look, I don't usually like skill trees, I think they're boring and artificial, but it does work here. They aren't like, oh, DK gets a 5% increase when using metal terrain. Now, they show you the side-by-side actual difference. You can increase your health. You might get a new move like the Mario Sunshine Spin, like quite literally the Mario Sunshine Spin. You might be able to smash through terrain faster, or get better sonar when clapping. The base pull is already good, it doesn't feel like they're hampering anything, but it actually gives you desirable stuff to work towards, so the loop of collecting bananas benefits everything. It benefits your moveset, it benefits your adventure through the story. You're gonna want to get these things. But here's a question. Is Bananza designed as a sandbox? It is, right? Kinda. I mean, levels are wide open, and there's places you never need to go. You can ignore entire sections of this level if you're just beelining the story. But somehow they take these explorable worlds that you can tear apart and dig through and make them feel tight and linear, at least for the main objective. All those bananas I've been talking about basically this entire video aren't needed. The only objective is getting to the next layer. I mean, sometimes there are micro-objectives along the way, but it's very much about defeating the boss at the end of this exploration gauntlet. Think like the primary star in a level of Mario 64, but on a way bigger scope. That's basically what every level of Bananza is. Now, if you're human, you absolutely will get distracted and collect a ton of things along the way, but you don't need a single banana or a single fossil to finish the game. If you want to just beeline to the end, nothing will get in the way of that, but I would suggest balancing everything. I felt the core adventure, while still really good, doesn't really have the variety of something like Odyssey when you bubble it off. But obviously, you're not meant to bubble it off. It's designed to feed you the variety in a bunch of other ways. And so if you're going off from level to level, finding the Elder, gaining a new power, going to the next layer, and then just repeating that, I'm afraid you've been bazingued. Or Bananza'd. Just stop, take it all in, and thrive with the big monkey man. But there is still a lot of variety in the story though. DK goes to closed-off areas like a hotel, wide-open scenes like a beach, and you'll help a bunch of little guys with their little guy problems. But one thing I absolutely love is you never need to stop and talk to anyone. There are guys with big exclamation marks above their head, and you can talk to them and they will show you the objective, but you never need to. You can ignore them entirely, they aren't triggers. Just keep exploring, and eventually you are going to find the right way anyway. Honestly, I'd recommend you play it that way. It's way more fun to stumble into the story when exploring than just have it fed to you. And maybe you're thinking, alright, so you just jump, climb, and punch through all these levels. Surely that's gonna get dull, and no it doesn't, but even if it did, this is EPD Tokyo. They aren't stable people, they're in another league. What if you were in a lava level, with lava rain falling from the sky? How do you protect yourself? Like some temporary power-up? No! Those chunks of terrain you've been using the whole game are now little terrain umbrellas, and you've got to figure that out for yourself. They even have totally new ideas using your base movement that were never explored before. In the post-game, these aren't regular mortals, you understand. They went absolutely sicko mode with this game. And Pauline, man, I won't spoil any story or anything, but she does such an amazing job grounding everything. Everyone else in this game speaks like monster gibberish, which she understands, but she's going in with fully voiced English sentences, which is wild for a game like this. She humanizes DK, and there are these little hotels you can build to restore your health, but I'd go to them even when maxed out on health, because every time you stay in a new one, you get these delightful conversations between DK and Pauline. These are two of the most iconic duos in video games, period. And that's wild to say given the origins of the series, but I love it. And by the way, if you're worried about the DK lore and what all this means, have they retconned the series, why is Cranky Kong here if Pauline is? Don't worry, they've tripled down on everything they've established. This is still Donkey Kong the Third, Candy Kong is even mentioned. They are not afraid to explore this stuff. And Bananza does something Nintendo very rarely do, and that's honor all of DK. There's a ton of arcade stuff in here, a bunch of rare era stuff, and also some Retro Studios DK. It's all celebrated, it's all equal, and it's amazing to see. But for the most part, this game is entirely new. It's not resting on nostalgia to deliver its emotional punch, but it's all in there. You'll go to the bonus rooms and see a bunch of rare themed levels, and Nintendo they've never really embraced that before. It's really cool to see. And look at this map! The map, fellas. It's just a big, low-poly zoom out of the world, fully rotatable in 3D. And when you return to gameplay, you're facing the exact direction the map was in. I didn't intend to have a segment talking about the map, but Nintendo's gone wild with their map technology. I already thought the mini-map in Mario Kart World was cool, but this is like the coolest video game map ever. Right? Maybe the rest of this video should be about the map. Man, this map is cool. The level variety was a little bit of a concern. I mean, this is a game about digging to the core of the earth, so you'd expect a bunch of dark, gloomy caves. But this level in the halfway point is a big sunny beach. So don't worry about it. You get those gloomy ones, of course, but you also get these really expressive ones. It doesn't matter where you are in the game, they still appear. They're all just really creative, but they aren't all equal. A bunch of levels have around 80 bananas, but then a few layers have just 10 or 20. And that's okay. Back when I first played Odyssey, I hated that the Ruined Kingdom was one and done so quickly. And none of them are as fast as that in Bananza, but I think the smaller layers actually pace the game out nicely. It feels good to be able to 100% a level relatively fast before going on to a way beefier gauntlet. So this is both me changing as a person since first playing Odyssey in 2017, and just honestly better execution on the game's part as well. There's so much I love about this game. I love the properly thought out executions of how do I get there, and then making it work in whatever way you can. And I love just stumbling into the stuff that probably should have had that process, but it doesn't anyway. I love punching an enemy so hard that it flies into another enemy and kills them. I love rolling into an enemy attack and somehow parrying it. And I love DK Artist. I am nowhere near creative enough to use this, but I've seen people make bonkers things already. I don't know why I put a hole at the bottom of this sculpture. What's the purpose of that hole, John? Nintendo have made one of the only next-gen experiences I've felt in maybe a decade. Visuals continue to get better, ray tracing demands a lot of technical power to achieve, that kind of stuff isn't what I'm talking about though. Bananza uses the hardware power entirely for its gameplay. They did a dev interview talking about how the game started on Switch 1, and even showed what it looked like, but they also barely managed to make it work. It didn't run at 60 FPS, many gameplay ideas were flat out cut, and it was only with the Switch 2 that they could fulfill everything they wanted to do. Because of that, this game had an extremely long development cycle, just like Mario Kart World, but the results really are spectacular. It's so full of ideas, the scope is huge, and you can just smash it all up. Like we've had games with destructible environments before, but never this big, moving this quickly, and as limitless as this. The only limitation here is eventually you'll bump into the metal skeleton that props up the level. I think even people with Giga PCs will be like, damn, games just aren't made like this. And the hardware power is probably how they could do the sicko map as well. But with all that said, the Switch 2 does struggle at times with Donkey Kong Bananza. The game runs with a double buffer VSync, which means basically whenever it drops frames, it goes down to 30 FPS. However, I didn't really notice most of the time, not when I wasn't really just looking for it. These drops to 30 don't really happen that often, and when they do, they're on screen for a very short period of time. It's usually when just smashing one of the bananas up, which doesn't impact your gameplay, or when doing really big sucks as the elephant. That will bring it down to 30 as well. But otherwise, I didn't really notice it. It is there, it is undeniable, but I think major criticisms of this are blowing it out of proportion. You really don't feel it that much. Look, I love DK Bananza. It has a clear, ridiculous vision, and it achieves it. The story is endearing, the loop is endless fun, and you will want to do everything. It's just fun to do, never feels like a chore. My only real gripe is the subtitle of the game, The Bananzas. In the context of the main story, they're good. Using them in boss fights makes the most out of their abilities, and every single one is fun. They're not needed all that much in general exploration, but occasionally you'll find terrain that crumbles beneath you, so you need something fast like the zebra. Or if a level is covered in lava and you want to explore it, get the elephant, it'll suck up all the lava. They have their place, but they're also way too much of a crutch. I had to outright stop myself from using them because they make the game less fun. Elephant, I mentioned earlier, right? Great at sucking up lava. You can also suck up everything. So the days of having DK burrow through a wall, making all these discoveries, became this. Can you see what's even happening? Has YouTube bitrate destroyed what's going on? Well, allow me to describe it. We're just flippin' destroying everything around us, holding down one button and pointing. Everything you suck up is also stacked as a throwable terrain item too, and you can store like 8 of them. This was already drastically overpowered, but now you're taking the improv away from DK's moveset as well. Elephant's the biggest problem, really. I think the Kong Bananza is fine, it's just a stronger DK, that's okay. The ostrich can fly, which again is great in contextual moments, but can ruin areas that weren't really designed for it. The snake is just Spring Mario again. What's your deal with Spring Mario, EPD? I mean, it's better than flippin' Spring Mario. It does have its use as well, like when underground it's kind of like Ascend in Tears of the Kingdom, only completely player controlled, and I think that's rad. They're not all game ruining, but there's always a temptation to use them. Can't find what bananas left? Just suck up the whole level as elephant. Maybe you'll stumble upon one or find a map pointing you towards one. And gold replenishes your Bananza meter too, and look how quickly it maxes out again. It's like infinite power with no consequence. It's like if you could just spawn any capture you want in Odyssey at any time. That would ruin the game, right? Playing around with these makes you realize why power-ups are usually limited, why they only show up in certain areas of the game. I mean, the music may be banging with most of these, but I just don't really like them. Regular DK was already so good, and I'd strongly suggest you ignore them for the most part unless you really need them. They made me appreciate the game design less, because it wasn't even really there anymore. Now, obviously we control the buttons we press, but I really think they could have done better with these. But look here, look at me. Donkey Kong Bananza is one of the coolest video games. Remember this. In 3 months, people are going to be telling you it was always bad. Flick them for me, okay? Right on the nose. Bananza is a true innovator, giving us gameplay we haven't really seen before, on a level that acts like it's been done 100 times. Donkey Kong hasn't been this good since, well, I guess his last game, but that was like a lifetime ago now. If a 5-year-old played Tropical Freeze when it was new, they're gonna be 16 now, and that's not okay. I hate aging, but I love Donkey Kong Bananza. If they had found a way to make the Bananza powers a natural part of the experience rather than essentially a cheat code, I think we'd be looking at a near flawless game. I would have liked a bit more challenge too. It can be very smart in areas, but rarely challenging. There were a few areas in the post-game where I did struggle a bit, but that doesn't include the final level, which is unfortunately a bit of a cakewalk. But Donkey Kong thrives as an exploration game. The fun never stopped or even dipped, and for that reason, I'm giving Donkey Kong Bananza a 9.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching, everyone, and remember to spin and watch Pauline run on DK, because it is so cute. Alright, bye everyone.